trying to save you and your family's life. I'm giving you a choice. Either put on these glasses or start eating that trash can.
We are not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Are you ready to free your mind from those silly-ass chains? Well, buckle up, friends, because you are watching the baddest show in the Milky Way. Take aim or take cover while we annihilate ignorance, deception, and slavery in all its forms. Welcome to the Holy Warship Podcast.
You're not getting away from the long arm of natural law.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Holy Warship Podcast. Today's episode is about the Golden Age. What do you think the Golden Age is? Where do you think it's going? And do you see this as a good or bad thing? We're going to get into all of the new events going on in just this insane news cycle. The quickening is here. Everything is speeding up. You can't even keep up with anything. We're going to do a little bit of foundational analysis just on where we've been, where this country has been in the past few years, and basically since the Declaration of Independence. And then we're going to get into this modern stuff. We're going to see how this plays a role with humanity and the America's search for freedom, and will we find it in the Golden Age? We're going to get into just all the newest stuff. So I'm pretty excited to get going here with you. And first off, I want to thank the One Great Work Network for allowing me to stand side beside them. It is such an eclectic group of people, and we all see things a little differently. That's what's so amazing, is that we all have our own craft and our own way of seeing things, although we all do agree that human freedom is just the number one primary focus that anyone should be focused on. And I just am so grateful to be on there. You can find it at onegreatworknetwork.com. You can just go through the creators tab and see how many amazing different people are on there. Just some heavy hitters. It's just a really great network. Also, I would like to let you know that I am going to be doing a live stream on Fridays, Friday afternoon, and I'll make an announcement here shortly on the exact time. I'm still working on what time of day I want to get it going, but Wednesdays we're going to have a new episode of the Holy Warship Podcast, where you're going to get a one-of-a-kind analysis of just everything you should be aware of. We all need to stay focused and stay aware. You're not going to find an analysis that I give anywhere else. You're going to get a meta-narrative analysis of current events, current news cycles. We're going to keep it up to date. And this platform is going to be changing, quite a bit. It's kind of like a box of chocolates. I'm still figuring things out and finding out the way that I want to do things, and getting used to having, a podcast and a live stream. So stay tuned for the new episode every week and the live stream following after, to where you can get to ask some questions to me regarding the recent episode of the podcast. So it's really cool that I'm just going to release an episode, and then, anyone has any questions or, comments on that, they can meet me at the live stream, and I'm going to be interacting with anyone who's listening and following along. I'm just going to answer questions. All right, so let's get moving. I'd like to make a warning for any listeners or viewers of the show that this is for mature audiences. I am just a human being, and this podcast isn't for spoon feeding, nor is it for the faint of heart. I really am hoping that if you're listening to this, that there aren't really any kids around, because the truth is pretty wild, and especially someone like me, I tend to just lay it out there in very just simple street language. That is, kind of raw, and I've been doing this work for a long time, and so I can be kind of insensitive, really, I can, and so I'm just going to use simple language, and please keep the delicate little fragile ears away from this show. Another warning, this podcast is for stable people, stable listeners. If you have a hard time holding it down and you have a hard time just kind of dealing with life, this is going to stir up some stuff. Like, I'm talking about annihilating the foundation of everything you know. And it's really, it can be quite disturbing. I genuinely think that some of the most traumatic experiences in my life were just, in fact, waking up to what's going on. You find out that your life personally isn't really that crazy compared to what the world is going through. And, it's just a small reflection of that. So yeah, stable audience. And then the other caveat to that is that, maybe you're not stable because you're looking for sense and you're looking to make things work in this world. And you're trying to find a way that you fit into this world because nothing makes sense. So this actually might be a cure, I say that sarcastically. I'm not offering cures. However, I'm offering the truth, and the truth a lot of times is the most healing thing in the long run. So consider that. Another warning is that I am not perfect. Like I said, I am just a human being, and I am only here to make a testament to my life experience and my knowledge and my understanding and perceptions. So I'm not here to criticize people at all, and I definitely can seem judgmental. Things can roll off my tongue really harshly, but it's only because I care a lot, and this I've been doing. I've sacrificed a lot in my life to obtain this knowledge. You can ask a couple people, anyone in my personal life really, and they'll know how much I've sacrificed just to be an avid learner and an avid researcher. And so I've dedicated a lot and I've sacrificed a lot, including a career. And I put down multiple career opportunities. And, I've laid some of those things to rest because I value the truth so much, and I've dedicated my life to this. So, if I seem harsh or, so if I seem a little impatient or intolerant of, people who don't know, sometimes I can be that way. And, this brings me kind of to my next caveat, is that I do believe humanity is on a time crunch. I think that we are just very late to the game, and this causes a lot of stress to a person who is trying to help others and sees the clock ticking, right? If you see a train coming or a car coming and someone's standing over by the tracks and there's no way you could physically get there in time, right? You're going to be yelling and screaming, right? Or, if your only tool you have in your hand is a megaphone, then guess what? You're going to be jumping up and down, hollering on the megaphone, there's a train coming, right? Or there's a car, barreling towards you. You're not going to just waste time with the perfect, etiquette. You're going to really be jumping and trying, and you're going to be exhausted your resources to get people's attention. And so that is really where I come from, as a place of care and passion. And I see what's coming and I want to help others. And I've dedicated a long time to learning these things, and it doesn't make me better than anyone, but it does put me in a position where I have to be sharing this information. Another disclaimer is that I'm not asking to be believed. So anyone who just wants to believe me, I really frown upon that, and I don't want to be believed. I want people to do their own research and to find this out. And if you do your own research and do your own due diligence, then you will find out that, so much of what I'm telling you is 100% spot on. And I am not responsible also about how you apply this information. I am here to provide narrative information and psychological analysis, occulted information. However, I'm not necessarily giving advice. I'm trying to share information and helping people. Maybe I might say what I would do. Maybe I might say what other people have done. but I am not going to give you advice. So just make that clear. Okay, last but not least, please check out Everything You Should Already Know. It is a 2-hour presentation where I cover everything from the Big Bang all the way until the present day. Kind of tapers off in Babylon, but it's what was going on in Babylon is very, very similar to what was happening today. So also, it's a challenge because try to find another presentation that covers everything from the Big Bang all the way to where you are right now listening to this and watching this in 2 hours. Try to find someone and a presentation that sums up everything you should already know in 2 hours. It's a really great presentation if you can tolerate looking at me being all stiff and try to formally present something. I was sick also during that presentation. However, nonetheless, I'm proud of it, and I think it would help you understand my perspective, and my, where I'm coming from, in expressing all of the things that I do today, and you might, it might inspire you or motivate you to learn a little bit more or go a little bit deeper into your study of history, where we come from, and where we're going. So, yeah. Alrighty, so I was thinking, how am I going to get this first one going and start talking about the Golden Age, without getting into where we're coming from just in the past few hundred years? So I was learning about the Declaration of Independence and the reasons why it was signed specifically, because they were such gentlemen that they told the king why they were leaving his rule and why they were, starting their own country, and why they were just beginning the Americas in the way that they did. And their reasons were called the 27 grievances. And so I started reading these grievances, and it took a little bit of work because the language that they used is a little old school, right? And so once you start to translate them, though, into modern language, you realize that everything that they left the crown for is being placed against us right now by the government and by, quote, authority figures. So what are these grievances? They start with blocking beneficial laws that would help the Americas and help the colonists, and they would only pass laws, that would, you only get the good stuff if you allow me to take more authority over you, right? So we all know, plenty of laws get blocked that would really help us. If the system was going to work, then don't you think that you'd want to help your people? No, it was a kingship. Right? And so it was all bloodline lineage. And so guess what else? So they would block emergency measures and during disasters. So the crown wouldn't be helping them out. You'd just be ignoring them. Bad things would happen. They'd get attacked. There'd be a battle. And the king would just say, I don't want to help you. I don't want to help this. It doesn't sound like it's in my best interests. Sounds like a lot of work. The king would be calling together secret meetings, that were far away and it was hard to get to. So you have a secret meeting, and what does our government do? Congress and there are these FISA courts. There's all these meetings, and they pass things in the middle of the night. We tolerate that as it's just our government doing what the government does. Well, we fought a revolution for that, right? We got to remember these things. What else? Overriding local leadership, and canceling elections. The king would just totally interfere with elections and cancel them, and would totally, just mess things up. That's what the king was doing. We've seen that. We've witnessed that in the past 8 years. We've seen elections be just outright, interfered with. But you know what? We're still here. We're hanging in there, right, by a thread. Blocked legal immigration and allowed, opposition to migrate. So just making it really hard for Americans or colonists to immigrate here, but just allowed, the worst of the worst to come through, essentially. Putting in corrupt judges that only the king controlled. What does this sound like? We already know how many judges it's a big thing. It's a big deal. We see people like Alex Jones, Donald Trump. You have the Roger Ver. You have Snowden and Assange. All these people who are really trying to do their best. Not perfect. No one's perfect. But the king doesn't like those people, being a thorn in his side. Creating a bunch of bureaucracy. Just that totally hindered and harassed and swarmed and exploited the American people. That's what the king was doing. Keeping standing armies in the times of peace, and maintaining military presence in domestic affairs. So we already have this. A lot of people don't like to think about it this way, but who gets all of the old military equipment? Who gets all this stuff? It's the IRS, it's the police, it's the locals, it's the those who enforce the rule of the king. And we don't like to see it this way, but that's exactly what these institutions are doing. The IRS, they have their own SWAT teams, they have their own military, they have their own law enforcement, and they're enforcing the laws of the kingship, right? So the king allowed the military to have way more power than the civilians. So the civilians weren't allowed to defend themselves against the king, right? Imposing foreign laws and entering international agreements or treaties. We used to have the World Health Organization, and we would follow all of these foreign laws that would essentially just be pushed onto us, and we didn't really have our own state or local government because the feds overrode everything, forcing the people to house and feed British soldiers. I could keep going, but you guys get the picture. You understand where I'm coming from. And this is the way the state that our country has been in. You can go over these lists. I mean, you could make a whole 5-part documentary about how all of the reasons which the founding fathers fought to the death to leave their own enslavement and their tyranny. It's been going on right under our noses, and we have tolerated it for how long, right? So there's the context. That was part 1 of this podcast, which is basically just an introduction. And so now let's get into just the past few years, right? So Trump was just total outlier. And, that's just the image and the narrative. So Trump was loved before he ran. Everyone loved this guy, right? And he sees things going on in this country kind of like, how the founding fathers saw them, and he wanted to put America first. And a lot of the complaints in his book, you can actually see mirror, a lot of the intentions of the founding fathers. I'm not saying that Trump is a perfect person. No one is perfect. The founding fathers weren't perfect, but Trump was successful in many things, and he's a successful businessman. I read that he was involved in like 4,000 court cases and won like 92% of them. So he can defend himself, and he really, really, how do you defend yourself like that with such a high rate without knowing laws or, aligning yourself with, the side of American justice? Not saying that it's like perfect justice or true justice, like divine justice, but nonetheless, he was an outlier and a very great and outspoken critic of, the government bureaucracy. He actually did not work with the government that much. When it involved the golf course, or when it involved his city, when it was looking like crap, he did get involved to help fix things around the city, but he was a private sector dude. He was not a government guy. So this automatically, when he runs, he announces his run. I think sometime in 2015. it totally divided the U.S. It totally divided the country because guess what? All the blue collar folks and the people who don't want to be involved in the government, they saw Trump as a massive blow to the status quo. They saw that they were getting screwed, and they did not want they enjoyed the lulz, right? It made them laugh to see all these politicians just get trolled. And the people who don't depend on the government, I don't really have much to lose. We pretty much do our own thing. American government and institutions have just outright forgotten about the backbone of the government and where it gets all its so-called authority from. And so the people who were blue collar, they loved it. They didn't mind. They didn't see Trump as a huge threat to them. They actually saw someone who is sticking up for them. But guess what? This caused so much division because a lot of people, not as many people as the blue collar, but just the overinflated, over media establishment people who depend and profit from the system. So all the people that profit from the system, these upper middle class people who are actually very well off, and they've aligned themselves with the structured system because that is how they make their money, that is what they exploit, and they need that system. We all know that the higher you get in this quote unquote social fake classist hierarchy, the more of the rich and wealthy people, they did not like Trump because it disturbed the market. It disturbed their the entire foundation of what they are. They need that. Not saying that they're not all of them are terrible people, but we all know those people who are actually well off, and they think that they're speaking for the people in the back. And that was a huge division, and the division has gotten just so extreme, and so that's a huge thing that we're going to be talking about is the division of the soul of America. And the soul of the division of the consciousness of America. So the people who were, very supporters, a lot of supporters of Trump, they see the establishment attacking him, just outright attacking him, and this is proof that he really is a threat to them. And then all of the established people, they see, the establishment attacking Trump, and they believe that this is the sign that Trump is totally corrupt. And, he's the worst of the worst. He's American greed incarnate, right? So you see the media just starting to trash him, right? And, they open the investigations. And then guess what? You have the independent people in 2016. It was pretty split down the middle too. You had, the minority, like 48 or 49% of people, according to their polls, voting for Hillary. And then you have so many of the independents saying, you know what, I'm going to take my chance with this guy because, the way things are going, it's bad. It's not good. Things have not been good at all. War, terrorism, all of it. Everyone knew and knows the institution was terrible, right? So he wins, right? He gets in. He makes it in the White House. And just the attacks just keep coming in, right? So Trump gets in. And, the Attorney General opened a campaign finance violation, the sexual assault lawsuit. And, he's going around, this is fake news, right? This is your fake news. It is just, you either love it or hate it. It is the funny part. But what did Trump resemble? What was he doing? The first term, he had plenty of America First doctrine, right? Reduced the mandatory minimum sentences for nonviolent offenders. I mean, most significant tax reform. The S&P 500 reached record highs, historically low unemployment. People were actually witnessing what it would be like to have a real leader, right? The stock market blew up. I mean, totally hit historically low unemployment with Hispanics and blacks. That's huge. That's huge. We all know, how much racism has been passed within the neck of the government, right? They say they're sticking up for you. Really, they're digging your grave, really. So imposed tariffs on Chinese goods, negotiated with North Korea, started building the border wall, right? Started stopping the illegal immigration, and all of this was exploited for more division. The media frenzy was just insane, right? And they didn't realize by attacking Trump more, they were drawing more people to him. And I think some people really, when you get into who's controlling the media, I think they really know that they were really pushing people in either direction. It was so divisive, but also I think the everyday person started to wake up and just see the corruption at this time. And then you have, a lot of people in the middle were just like, oh gosh, it's never going to end. They were being bombarded, right? The people in the middle, I mean, you gotta think the fence sitters, the people who didn't know how to make up their mind. Ugh, imagine the agony. It's like you got people all around you. I mean, some people saw it. Some people knew that, this is really just trying to divide everyone. But most people, they were being divided and they were choosing a side. Just like we're still seeing it, right? But we're gonna get into this even more. COVID hits. Right? So now we have COVID, and this was a big wet blanket on the Trump administration because things started to get hurt really bad. And then now everyone's scared, right? You have everyone, all of the media telling you all day long, we're all going to die. I mean, it's really bad. So now you have Trump being pressured by all these, these basically foreign agencies, the bureaucracies harassing him. And I mean, he's harassed the whole time, right? But COVID comes and, he's just slammed, right? What can a guy do? Really? I mean, you're trying to help people, he recommends the 15 days to slow the spread, and then he extends that. He's cutting the red tape on the vaccine research and the science, trying to get the ventilators out, and everyone is losing their mind because they're scared, right? They're scared. And then they have this guy who is the only thing on the media. It was like 92%. The media never let up. It was like mid to late 90s percentage of bad publicity, all programming, so much propaganda, and just driving a wedge into everyone. And you're an anti-vaxxer, you're a liberal, and everyone's anti-science, and this was crazy. So liberals were, people on the left, super triggered, and everyone's sick of the crowd. The people in the middle who haven't chosen a side, they're sick of it, right? Oh gosh, let's just get it back to normal. Anything to get back to normal. But we know there's never really going to be a normal. So what happens? Everyone, chooses a side the next election, and Biden wins. I mean, it's like everyone knows there was corruption. We know that so many people were sick of it. Like a lot of the middle were probably so tired of being, just harassed for not having a side. And, everyone's getting harassed in all directions. But what we do see is, it was all stolen right in front of our eyes. I mean, Hillary said, "Oh, it was stolen," right? And then now when it gets stolen for Biden, we don't have control over elections, blah, 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 blah. Right. Right. So everything starts to get worse. We just saw the whole election get yanked right in front of us. So naturally, people are pissed, right? So people are pissed off. There's a rally, right? There's a rally in D.C. Everyone knows what happened. And, the funny part is that they had everyone ready. They had the agent provocateurs, hundreds of federal agents in the crowd. And, when you start to think about things like this, I mean, how far in advance do they know things? I mean, did they know that the election was going to get stolen? Did they just seize the opportunity? But I mean, either way, what happens is it gets yanked. Everyone, this just emboldens. It emboldens the liberals, and then it pisses off the Republicans. The independents are like, oh, maybe we can get some normalcy, right? All the January 6ers, they just got ripped, right? They got ripped a new one. So then what's next? Biden's in office, and it is so obvious that this dude just doesn't know what he's doing. It must be something going on in the shadows. Everything gets worse, right? Vaccine mandates just get rolled out. He wishes the American public who haven't taken the vaccine a winter of severe illness and death, right? Then you have the Afghanistan pullout during his administration. He leaves $7 billion worth of military equipment in Afghanistan. And it's all Trump's fault, right? So they never stop blaming Trump during Biden's whole entire administration. But everyone starts waking up even more. We have to start paying attention to the consciousness of people and how this is playing out in the minds of the public, because you can learn a lot, and you can really start to question things when how far up do these things go is really what we got to start thinking about. So everything is getting worse. The Hunter Biden laptop comes out. The gender, all the racism stuff, he's rolling back everything that Trump did, right? And people are watching it. People are watching this just unfold right before them, shutting off the energy, the funding of Ukraine, just massive amounts of immigration. And you have, certain media outlets, the quote alternative media, they're all calling it out. So the crazy part is like, how much of this is, I think that maybe they wanted us to be witnessing all this. Maybe there's no hiding it. I think in general, there's no hiding it. But I mean, even a lot of the media companies were just throwing Biden under the bus. And, a lot of people started to question towards the end, he's clearly incompetent. Everyone is really, really regretting this guy getting in, and they're waking up. And so, you have, the 4 years of Trump, and everyone's like, it's so divided, but things were actually going good, right? There's a lot of people, when it comes to just basic everyday living of the blue collar American, a lot of things, in their eyes got better. And so then you have this huge contrast. It's like, oh, wow, now we're going to the total opposite. Totally unstable president, doesn't know what's going on. He's not witty. He says things. He poops his pants. And around this time, everyone is waking up to the COVID psyop, and they see Trump as like, wow, he wasn't perfect, but he wasn't going to wear a mask. He wasn't going to enforce all these mandates. And you have, how many people got fired and laid off? How many people got woken up when they stuck up for themselves and said, I'm not going to take this. And guess what else is divisive is that everyone waking up to the COVID psyop during Biden's administration that were forced to take the vaccine. I mean, imagine how frustrating that is. Imagine how enlightening and frustrating that is, because you are finding out how much corruption and the real damage that the solutions of COVID, the so-called solutions of COVID, caused. So, we're all witnessing this at the same time, and I mean, geez, this is only furthering the divide. People are either doubling down, or they're doubling down on the left, right, or they're jumping to the right, and that's what we start to see. A lot of people start to jump into the center and to the right. And so it kind of actually mirrors the Declaration of Independence. We're seeing the people jump to the Republic, right? Everyone's starting to cling to the Republic because, well, we're witnessing this tyranny and just blatant disregard for freedom of choice and the free will, the American spirit, honestly. So then towards the end, you start to see Trump's the Attorney General's lawsuit against Trump, banned his company for 3 years. He had to pay $355 million. He's found guilty during the Biden administration on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. They just keep coming after Trump. And everyone knows, they see that this administration is just terrorizing Donald Trump. I mean, just not letting the guy have a break, blaming him for the insurrection, even though it was staged by them very clearly and obviously. It's just everyone is waking up, right? So then we have Trump announcing his run again. So he's announcing his run like 2022, 2023 or something like that, right? And the people on the left are losing it. They're doubling down, right? And then you have the independents and liberals all shifting right. I mean, within the past few of those years, Elon Musk had bought Twitter. And, he calls himself a libertarian, and, everyone thinks that he has saved free speech, right? And so, Trump's announces his run, and he releases his Save America book, right? And, 2023, he gives a speech. He says, I'm your warrior. If you've been affected by this past administration, I am your retribution, right? And he is just ready. He's seething with just, he has been everything that this past administration and that the government has done to him. He's been sued before. A lot of his suits come from the government. They're pissed off at him, and he's just a private guy, right? He's not perfect, but he's ready. And you have Kennedy running, and Kennedy, all the independents love Kennedy, and there was a huge movement for Kennedy. But everyone knows that the independents, if you vote for Kennedy, you're going to throw away your vote, right? So Kennedy joins Trump, and all of those center people, they're like, I sure as hell am not voting for the dementia guy. I guess I'm going to have to vote for Donald Trump if I want to make America healthy again. Now, everyone is ready. I mean, think of the alliance. Think of how much, and not only that, you're strengthening the division because there's no center anymore. All of the center has been switched to the side of, warriors and evil fighters. So this was even further on the division. I mean, if you don't think America is divided, I mean, think of how many people, look at the votes. Look how many people ended up voting for Trump. I mean, it was clearly the only, and I mean, if you get into it, the states that Trump lost and the counties and districts that Trump lost, they had just the most egregious voting laws, and didn't have to show ID, and voting in ballot or mailing in ballots, and all of these things. So if you really take away a lot of the corruption, America chose Donald Trump. I mean, it is just overwhelming majority. Everyone chose a side. There's no one who didn't choose a side. You have Joe Rogan. You have Tulsi Gabbard. You have Elon Musk. All of these libertarian / independents. Even J.D. Vance, he used to not like Trump. He used to just actually, he called him a bad man, right? He said he's morally reprehensible. I mean, if you're paying attention, they announced Doge, right? So you have the Department of Government Efficiency, and everyone is so ready. They're thirsty. Everyone shifted to the right. There's no center anymore, anyone. I mean, the very few people who are centered are getting called. I mean, you're getting called just everything under the sun, right? So all of the independents after the election, they realized just how corrupt this is, and everyone has chosen a side. And now you have everyone saying, Rogan said, this is really, Trump won. This is really proof that the system works, right? And somewhere I read, I think it was on the White House page, or in his speech, he said he wants to restore the faith in the government. He wants to restore the faith in American institutions. Which, I mean, if you're depends what kind of America you're talking about. If you're talking about all the tyranny that's been taking place, we don't want to have faith in that. We don't want to have blind trust in the institution. But I mean, here's the danger in that. Here's the danger in that is that you have everyone on a side now. So here's what's going on, right? Let's start there. Trump gets in. This is America First 2.0. The very first day he announces, he unleashes a slew of executive orders. I mean, just launches it, and guess what? And a lot of these executive orders, he is straight up throwing the previous administration under the bus. I mean, just throwing them under the bus. Go and look at all of what he says in the orders. The previous administration, the past 4 years, he's doing everything he can to expose it. I mean, what else do you do? They attacked him, and he's separating himself from the corruption. Which, I mean, rightly so. I mean, he's just a person, right? He's just an individual, and he really, I believe that he tries his best to live in that patriotic side of him, but that does come at a cost, which we will get into. So we see Doge. What is Doge doing? It's slashing all the funding for the whole bureaucracy. They announced the Stargate project. I mean, the Stargate and Doge, they go hand in hand. You can't just get rid of all these jobs and start this slashing all the funding without having something to replace it with. This Doge is a rebranding of how the government bureaucracy will work, because they're starting to integrate all of this AI with the bureaucracy. So they're going to get rid of as much as they can, and they're going to keep some people around because they have to keep faces up, right? And they don't want people to really understand that they're replacing most of the government with artificial intelligence agents. That's what's going on. And, if you really doubt that, please look around and look what the administration is doing. You can go to the website. when you look between Project Stargate or the Stargate project, you have SoftBank, right? The SoftBank, the very first people, they were some of the first people who invested in Elon Musk's first startup. You have Larry Ellison with Oracle. I mean, Oracle has contracts with the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office, the CIA. I mean, all of these people between Stargate and Doge, you have the power brokers of the entire military behind them. So do you think that these institutions have 100% of your best interest in mind? I'm going to let you decide that, but when you start digging into it, you start digging into the Trump administration, it gets hairy. It gets hairy, folks. It gets really, really suspicious. And we can discuss that in a later episode. I am going to break that down because there is so much to get into. It needs an entire episode on itself. But anyway, look at what's going on. It's a takeover, or a tech over, if you will. They're changing the face of the government. Now, this is a good thing and it's a bad thing, but it's both. It can't just be one thing. We can't run from technology. There's no running from it. There's just absolutely no running from the technology. That being said, let's get into part 3, the golden age and the threats to the golden age. Because if you really want a golden age, if you want to take the golden age seriously, and you want America to succeed, you want the world to succeed, because the thing about America is we're leading the charge for the rest of the world, and we have to acknowledge that, and we can't just say screw the rest of the world. We should. We're no good to anyone if we're not taking care of ourselves, first off. And second off, we can't forget that even when it comes to cutting off the all of these programs. Now, I definitely I really disagree with taxation and stealing from people in order to send to other people, because I don't need someone telling me how to spend my money. I already have my own hard time spending my money. I wouldn't trust anyone to do that for me. And so let's get into the real big threats of the golden age, and what we should look out for, what to expect, maybe kind of really think about what we could predict to be coming, and ask some questions. The first threat is just a clear, obvious one. The first threat to the golden age, as everyone knows, is the deep state. So, do we believe that we voted out the corruption? Did Americans and all of America eradicate all of the corruption just by casting their vote? Right. So I don't believe that happened. And so which begs the question, because we obviously see corruption getting voted out. And we obviously see many people are going to be replaced. We have all of these, and we're going to have a lot more division. It's going to keep getting hairier. So just to reiterate, the division is just astronomical, because we have a lot of institutional people and establishment people who are getting voted out. The bureaucracy, ladies and gentlemen, that was the deep state. Everything in the bureaucracy was the deep state, because you have people dependent on it, and they're going to defend it, and they're going to be mad that they're getting kicked out. They're losing their pension, or they're losing this, right? They're losing that. They're losing their authority. They're losing their livelihood, which was essentially, entangled with the government. So anyway, did we vote out the corruption? Some of it is getting removed, yes. But the question is, how high does the corruption go? If you look at Trump's administration, if you look at what's going on behind the scenes, and you're honest with yourself, the corruption has to go really high. And these institutions like the military-industrial complex, the CIA, think about everything they've done, folks. They've taken out presidents. They've taken out They've taken out presidents of around the world, and now you see them getting thrown under the bus. They're releasing the JFK files. They're removing the aid. They're exposing all of the cover-ups that have been going on the past however long. What I do think, ladies and gentlemen, is that we did not vote out the corruption. It is rebranding itself. And what do the regimes always do after they take over? They throw away all of the dupes, all the people who betrayed their home country, and they took the bribes, and they allowed themselves to be corrupted. They all get thrown under the bus first. They're getting rid of the dross and the extra baggage. The deep state is saying, yeah, they don't have to keep up on their end of the deal if they kill you or cut you off. You know what I mean? The deep state is not being exposed. Stop falling for that. And what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a group. So let's keep moving forward. Let's keep asking questions. So it's kind of crazy too, because how high does the corruption go? It goes really, really, really high, so much higher than the bureaucracy. And what we are going to end up doing is we're going to create a lot of enemies with normal people, and they're going to get radicalized. Everyone is being radicalized. And we see the rich playboy billionaire battling the guy that wants to take over the world. So think about it. It's like a comic book, you guys. It's like, the billionaire playboy comes to save the day, and all of his technology, and you have the Iron Man guy and all the fancy tech, and only they can come and save the world. And the guy that says, we're going to see a cyber pandemic that will make COVID look like a minor inconvenience, and you will eat the bugs and own nothing and be happy about it. It's straight up comic book stuff. I mean, you have the billionaire playboy badass fighting the guy in the funny looking suit in the tunic or whatever that wants to take over the world. Is this the real fight? That's what I'm going to ask. Is this the real fight? Okay, so the deep state, huge threat. And ladies and gentlemen, did our dangers or risks from the deep state, did they just go away overnight? What do you think? I genuinely believe that all of the dangers from the deep state just got a lot worse. We're in red alert, danger zone. I do not think this is a time for celebration. I think it is a time for massive vigilance, like serious vigilance, and don't get complacent. Keep your head on a swivel. Think about it. The deep state, they see their generations of plans getting thrown to waste, and maybe that was the plan all along. Maybe they were ready to rebrand. They're getting swept under the rug. A lot of people who felt important are not important anymore. That's gonna piss them off. It really, really is. So I don't think we're at where they want us to think. What they want, I don't think we're at really where the system wants us to think. You have a lot of people in the mainstream alternative media. The people who are against COVID and exposing all the COVID and exposing the Biden stuff. You have all of them believing that, they single-handedly saved the world by, speaking the truth to power on a couple of interesting topics. But if you follow my work, if you go back and listen to my presentation and really question how far back this stuff goes, you will have a lot more questions, when it comes to where this stuff comes down the pipes. And we'll be getting into it as we go along. We have planes falling out of the sky. The massive fire that was taking place when Trump got into office, and the UFOs. You have objects in the sky that are defying everything we know as far as the public perception of technology, and I'll say this too. These UFOs and drones that were just This is a real big one that the new administration's getting flack for because, oh, nothing to worry about here. All these UFOs, all the drones were just hobbyists and they all got FAA approval. We already know that is so untrue. And maybe by them claiming that's not true will shine more light on that. But everyone knows that is not the full truth. And they have something to hide because who actually has this technology? Real quickly, I was doing some research on this. I hate to deviate, but I really can't help it. The UFOs, everyone who is in Trump's administration knows about the UFOs. Elon Musk works with the National Reconnaissance Office, and they know exactly what's going around. They know exactly what's going on all around this planet. There's nothing they can't see. There isn't a drone. There isn't anything that goes around in our solar system that these people do not know about. NRO has had artificial intelligence and AI monitoring our satellites since 2012, folks. If you look into it, we'll get into this. Okay, I'm just going to let you know that the drone thing is going to get a lot crazier, and they're waiting. And anyway, China and Taiwan is a threat, part of the deep state, right? Taiwan isn't the threat. China wants Taiwan, and we want Taiwan because their semiconductor factories are just world-renowned. Their engineering is amazing, and the real battle for AI and quantum AI supremacy is going to be over Taiwan, and China wants it. I think they're going to be making their move very, very soon on Taiwan if they don't already have it. This is deep, folks. You have Google, you have everyone, and Trump is removing the red tape. So here's the danger of that, is that all of this red tape that was there hindering us was also kind of helping, the really crazy shit from happening with these companies, but it's getting cut. Removing the red tape is just bad and good. It comes at a cost, and the American people, we really have to wake up and face this and not get complacent and not just think everything's fine. So China and Taiwan, we're racing for Taiwan, and everyone knows. Do we think that the deep state is going to just go away quietly? No. I don't think so. It's a possibility. So if everything just goes away quietly and there's not a battle of good versus evil, then no one will be satisfied. It's kind of like we want to see justice, right? We want to see this justice come to fruition. So these executive orders, removing from the WHO, removing the aid, all of these things are really pissing off the deep state, and the deep state still maintains as one of the biggest threats, right? Okay, so the second major threat to the golden age, and I put these threats in order, so I think the deep state is a huge problem, but we're going to get to these next two steps, which will increasingly become worse problems. So Trump and his administration is the second largest threat that the golden age faces. And this is because Trump is a human being, and people are putting way too much faith in this guy. People are really, really blindly following and believing that Trump is going to save it, and that he alone is going to pull this rabbit out of the hat. We all know that Trump is just a human being, which means he has a shadow, he has a dark side too. He has parts of himself that he doesn't even realize. We all do. Okay? So he has a huge ego, and he says, I am your retribution. He has a book, I'm going to save America. He was almost assassinated, and he genuinely believes that God has kept him alive to do a certain task. And at the same time, who knows, maybe he already knew that he has been chosen by God, or has believed this for a long time. So this is the Trump is really actually one of the biggest threats to the golden age, because he has so many unrealized parts about himself. I mean, he's positioned himself as this he's your retribution. He's fighting the evildoers. He uses propaganda. He really does. He's a master communicator. He is so good at communicating. He doesn't always admit bad things. He puts the spin on things, and he really is a human. And this isn't a knock on Trump. So many of the people that I'm going to talk about, Rogan, Musk, Trump, Kennedy, JD Vance, all these people, I don't really care about, are they good or are they bad? I know that they're human, and they do have their own agendas. Maybe some of them are controlled by evil. Maybe some of them are controlled by, ultimate divinity. But that is a really, really bad way to look at things. It's not really reasonable, and it's not realistic, and it's actually not fair to do that to yourself and just to say Trump's the savior. Trump is sent by God and all of this stuff. And I don't deny divine intervention with things. I don't ignore things, the great things that are happening. If the golden age is coming, I really want to help people understand how to get there, and I think we could do it. I really do. But we have some hurdles to get through as a nation, and just if we're going to really hammer through this, there's no running from it, and we got to go straight through and just admit these bad things, and not tolerate secrecy and not tolerate a bunch of bullshit. So the second threat is not just Trump, but it's his administration too. We're putting a lot of faith in the administration. We got to remember that Trump made mistakes. He makes mistakes, and he didn't understand how warp speed and the vaccine agenda was being weaponized, and he really, I think, was blinded by the good things about technology, and he wasn't fully informed. He's not really up to the newest information. We all have to admit that, and no one's perfect. But Trump is like an American dad, Trump is that guy who's living in the suburbs or in in a New York apartment building, and he's like, we should have guns, but maybe machine guns aren't super great, and he tries to be that reasonable guy, and he really kind of is an American in that regard. The American dream, he says in his book, he's profited from the American dream. He's part of the American dream. And so this means a lot, and it's the truth. He is like the representation of the American dad, right? He really is about justice and not tolerating bull crap and conserving tradition, right? That's what he is. It's not a terrible thing, but it's kind of old school, and that's one of his flaws. That's what he carries into his administration. His administration is full of billionaires. It's one of the wealthiest administrations of all time. I mean, it's got to be. Really, it's got to be the wealthiest administration of all time, and he's allowing all of these business people to come inside it, and just cutting all the red tape for him, saying, "Hey, let's save this country." And what else are you gonna do? You have to open the floodgates. We are just in a powder keg, and it is ready to go. So what else are you gonna do? Here's the thing: is that it's easy for people to just blindly believe with all the propaganda that was used for Trump. It's going to bite him in the rear because people are just going to start trusting blindly. And this hero myth in government, when people divide themselves and they believe that the leader is divinely chosen and he's on a path to get rid of evil, this really, really, really hinders the growth spiritually, and it leads to really, really bad things. And I am not going to say too quickly what is going on. I really, only time will tell some of these things. You cannot say that Trump is just, controlled opposition any more than your controlled opposition, because, it's like there are more things that keep unfolding and playing out, and there's a lot of people who say, oh, it's the Jews or Israelis or Islam or all of this. We, or the Democrats, we cannot afford at this day and age. It is February 7th, 2025, and anyone who is telling you it's Islam, it's Judaism, it's Israel, it is it's the boogeyman, they're mistaken, or they're trying to mislead you, because the division is really, really, really what damages people and what damages countries. Trump positioned himself as this retribution guy fighting evil, and it's only radicalized so much. And who knows how far up this plan goes, and who knows how much of it is controlled. That's the crazy part, is you can't just say that Trump is, totally controlled, and you can't say that he's not totally controlled. It's the way that tyranny works, and the way that things play themselves out, which we're going to get to next. So we will get to it. That's, his beliefs are mid, right? His policy is pretty good. He's putting America first. He's doing what he can. But his beliefs, he thinks technology is going to save us. Vaccines are going to save us. The meritocracy, this kind of goes along the lines with the elitist or classist mentality, because America, not only America a meritocracy, whatever it is, that has a tendency to make people believe that your job or your role, if someone thinks that it's insignificant, then it doesn't have a lot of merit, or that you're not providing anything worth of value. And I think that kind of, as a country, we have a weird value system, and it's pretty materialistic. And so we see artsy fartsy, hippie people, like a lot of liberals are, we see them as not contributing as much. And maybe there's something to be said about people living their lives differently and not having a lot to put out, except for some really bad art or whatever. We think we kind of shit on that, right? But anyways, so what to look out for is all this red tape is really gonna increase technological tyranny and surveillance, and it'll all be guised as America first and the golden age. We're gonna see a lot of blind support and obedience to anything that this administration does, and they're gonna be sticking up for a lot of bullshit, and they're gonna be lying, because government will always try to cover its ass. And how much do you really think that the government is revamping itself? Okay. So anyways, let's move on. Trump and his administration is the second major threat. And let's get into the third major threat. And this is the big one. If we want a golden age, we have to overcome this. And I'm going to try to get through it quick. It's a little bit of a lot. It's a little bit of a lot. No, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's one that we have to. There will not be a golden age at all if this threat isn't mitigated. And this threat that the golden age faces, number one largest threat, there will not be a golden age without it, without conquering this threat, is that human consciousness is totally stagnated. It has totally stalled out. We have not evolved, and as a matter of fact, we might have devolved since the Declaration of Independence. So as we talked in the beginning, is that the Founding Fathers, they made a leap from kingship to a republic, and this was just a step. So our consciousness, this was a leap in beliefs. that the Founding Fathers had made through becoming aware of what freedom requires, the risk and sacrifice that freedom requires. And I think that a lot of humans have forgotten that. And we think that the Founding Fathers was like the end all. Actually, it was just a minor step, because there is another leap that humanity has to take. And can you guess where that leap is? The leap that we took was from rulership by one person, or the crown, to the rulership by, we the people. And we elected our rulers, and we elected our kings. And the next leap that needs to be made by humans, if we want to have a real golden age, if we want to have true freedom, we have to say that I rule myself and you rule yourself, and no one has any more rights than anyone else. This is a hard thing to conceive, and it does take a lot of imagination to start understanding, and you have to meditate on this to really think about it. But ultimately, the threat to the golden age is that the people and the government hasn't changed, and we're relying on outdated thoughts and beliefs. Trump and the administration and the majority of the world right now is trying to drag an outdated version of freedom into the present golden age. And this just can't happen. It doesn't work this way. So we are looking to blame everything and everyone else for the suffering, yet we don't look at our own beliefs and the things that enable these atrocities. So people all over the political spectrum, they all identify with righteousness. The liberals, the Republicans, they all think that they're right, and they identify with righteousness and justice or law and order. But sadly, a lot of these people can't define those words. They can't define, righteousness. They can't define law and order or justice. They think they can, and they think that they're these words. I don't think that word means what you think it means, right? So here's what I mean. This revolution that people want, if we want to get to a golden age, it has to be bottom up. It has to come from the foundations, the principles of life itself. And that's what the Founding Fathers were doing. They quoted natural law and the laws of nature and nature's God. How many people in our public truly understand these natural laws or nature's God? And how they sourced their reasoning and their principles from the laws of nature. This is a bottom-up strategy. It means you get to the first things first. They knew that all men were created equal. Now, they also tried to make precautions for government getting out of control. But ultimately, this deal that we make with government and allowing, the consent of the people, which we'll get to, it's basically just like a bargain that doesn't work out. So we believe that change, and we believe that change comes from the top down right now, which it really doesn't, because we say, oh, well, we voted Trump in, so that's our consent. That's our consent to be governed, and it's our consent for the king to change the way the thing works. But Trump, in all of his good intentions, he doesn't have the actual perspective of everyone. He doesn't. It's impossible. It's impossible for him to, he's like a mid dude. Like, he really smart, and he's really great at communicating and getting things done. I'm not knocking him or saying he's not intelligent. I think he's probably pretty friggin' intelligent. However, he's missing a lot of information, and he doesn't really understand. He doesn't understand freedom in the way. I mean, he's running for office. He's running for the highest office in the land, and he said, he wants to be the one to fulfill these things, and he believes in genes. He said that. He said, I believe in genes, right? So, long story short, We believe that change comes from enforcing your thoughts on others, and that's impossible. Change comes from enforcing your thoughts on yourself. And if they are true, then you will create more freedom in your life, which will in turn go out to the world. And we still believe that others can claim authorship or authority on your own life. And it's 2025, and we're still begging the government for leaders. And obviously that means we feel a little inferior to authority and, the experts. We've been relying on experts for too long, and it hasn't worked out because we're saying, we need a parent. We need, we can't learn anything new, and we're stagnant, and, we just need to be told what to do. So, we aren't really trying to create freedom. We just want to be in control of freedom, right? We just want to control the freedom. And so, the word government really means control the mind. If you look up the origin of the word government, and why did they choose that word? I mean, really, there's probably some better words they could have came up with, but no, government means mind control. And so let's take a look at it from a different perspective. So if government means mind control, essentially, we're all under mind control. Because we're all consenting to be mind controlled, right? Which, we're going to take it into even further, a little more conspiratorial, folks. So it's like a bargain, right? So it's like a deal. And we make some deals, and everyone knows, like we always say, it's the lesser of two evils, right? So we choose. It's like it's better the devil you know, right? It's better the devil you know. And so we had made a deal with our government, and someone knew along the way that, well, it's like you're making a deal with the devil, right? I mean, essentially that's what you're doing. And deals with the devil don't work out. And we might not agree with that. There's a lot of Christians who support their government, I guess, and but it's really, there's no time for mincing words or trying to not hurt feelings, because people might listen to some of this next stuff, but it's correct, and stop getting your feelings hurt and just listen, right? It's just like, let's just listen and pay attention, because we're going to learn a lot. And I like learning. I like getting better. I like freedom. I like not feeling like everything has to be the same, all the time. And you want control yourself, is what I think. So anyways, we're going to take a look at the pentagram right above the White House. And north is facing straight ahead, so you know that this pentagram above the White House and the symbology is right there, invisible, and anyone can see a lot of the geometry laid into Washington, D.C., the United States Capitol, street structure. And, you think this is a conspiracy, your mind isn't working. And you think that this is an accident, and you think that all these things, I'm sorry, your mind's not working, and you've listened for an hour and 18 minutes, but you might as well turn it off and go do some more research, because you really need to start thinking a little more critically, or thinking that it's just a joke, thinking that it's a hoax, thinking that, everything is just a ruse, or just meant to incite conspiracy theorists, whatever it is. When you look into the occult, or the people running the show here, and the people of the secret societies, everyone knows the Freemasons, blah, 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 right? So this, I say, oh, Aaron, that's not a real pentagram. And, it's not a real pentagram because it's not finished. Well, that arm isn't closed. Well, let me tell you, in black magic, you are not supposed to make a perfect pentagram. If you want to perform some black magic, you turn the thing upside down, and or you extend some end of the pentagram, like you'll make one side longer, or you won't allow the intersecting path to touch. So this inverted pentagram at the helm of our government is a black magic pentagram. There's no getting around it. You can deny it all you want. You can say that, oh, this is something that humanity has to do. We had to do this. It's like a deal, but what does this really imply? Because if you're really honest with yourself, you'll do a little research and you'll understand what this actually means. In the story of Faust, you had a bored and tired scholar who wanted more out of life. He wanted more power, he wanted more knowledge, and he would try to do some, black magic and try to get a hold of some entities, and it never really worked until an entity approached him. And it came in his study, and there was a pentagram at the threshold of his door, and Mephistopheles, the demon, who came in through the threshold, got trapped in a pentagram, right? And so this scholar was being entertained by this demon, and the demon actually was trapped in this pentagram, which the pentagram, when there isn't a point touching to it, what it does is it allows demons or spirits into the pentagram with their full power. They're not subservient. They have all their trickery, and they're not inferior to the magician. They are equal or superior to the magician. So in black magic, when this pentagram is not closed, meaning you have some bad magic going on, or you make a mistake. That's why everyone knows it's dangerous to summon demons, right? Because you can make a mistake. Well, Mephistopheles tells Faust that, oh, I actually can't really help you because this pentagram isn't really finished. And he kind of plays it off as this cute little thing, right? But Faust is just a scholar, and he's not a magician. He's naive, and he thinks he's in charge. So, Faust has one on him, and so he convinces Faust that, I'm just a cute little demon. I don't need any help. And he says, oh, well, you have to let me out, in order for me to be your friend, but I actually can't really leave. I'm kind of stuck with you, which is what happens when you're up to some black magic. Not saying that Faust was, but he ended up being kind of silly and saying, oh, okay, sure, like let's we're gonna make a bargain, and I'll consent to you to walk through the threshold and exit the trap that you're in. So, this might seem like just the craziest stuff to anyone, but, a lot of people in government know this. They know that it's really kind of just some witchcraft and mind control. And so the source of government and control and religion, if you look back, these people are practicing magic. They're practicing manipulation. If you really, really look back into it, it's manipulation, and, the government has made a deal. I think it's funny that I thought this was kind of the only way to explain it. Like there's when you study this for as long as I have, you start to look at things as being intentional, and there aren't really any coincidences. Some things are hard to explain, like, some coincidences are so far apart you can't really see how they're tied together. This one's real easy and clear, and I genuinely think that, I'm not saying that black magic is super evil, but, what I am saying is that the Founding Fathers and the secret societies, which, were constructing the U.S. government, they were aware of what of what they were doing essentially, and how they were invoking spirits. You can look all around DC, and there is so much geomantic architecture. I mean, it'll make the top of your head explode off of your skull, and like, it is just insane. So anyway, just as the unconstrained demon needed the sorcerer's consent to leave the pentagram, the government needs your consent to rule. So every bargain with the government comes at a cost. We seek knowledge and power, but we come enslaved, and we bargain with the demon for safety and peace, yet get peril and war in return. We seek health and wisdom, but get disease and ignorance, because our methods for achieving it come at the threat of a gun. And government, they know this. They know that you're turning yourself inside out for them. I mean, this is a hard pill to swallow. It's kind of crazy I'm getting into it on the very first episode of the show. But hey, this is something that we all need to look at and actually understand. It's hard to believe, I get it, but we need to look into this. So the consciousness of humanity has not changed. So the Declaration of Independence, it was not the end point. And humanity needs to totally reconstruct its beliefs, totally reconstruct its perception of what freedom is. And we need to understand that the Declaration of Independence was not the end point. It was a step. It was a single step forward, and we have begun to make that step. But where will our foot end up, and where will we place our foot on the landing? Is a question. And so let's get into the good news. I would really like to close this off with some awesome news, because this is the good part. If you're still hanging around and you're still listening, this is the part where you get some good information. And the good part is that we got us here. Human consciousness has got us to where we are. So what does that mean? It means that human consciousness can get us out. If we change our thinking and we change our beliefs, we can help ourselves. We're not stuck in this loop. We are actually ultimately free to think what we want for now. Some people question that because mind control, government, actually would have you believe that you're free and that we're totally free and clear of any trouble. As long as you believe that and you totally believe that we're fine, we can't exit anything, and we're going to just keep getting more of what we got. So how do we change our consciousness? Well, we learn what we are, and we learn that we are actually pretty programmable, and we can undo the programming and mind control that has been pressed upon us, and we are free to think. We do see good things that are coming, like they're trying, people are trying to wake us up. They're trying to get us to see what's going on, like bringing education back in the household. We all have these options, and we have to learn where we come from, what we are, what's going on inside us that has been trickling out for so long to create the situation we're in. Trump and that administration and that government is what we asked for. Really, it truly is, and not just in a literal way, but in a subconscious way too. We've been creating that with our thoughts and creating our circumstances with our thoughts. And if we change our thoughts and try to use our imagination and envision something new, we can have something new. And so learn where you are. Learn what's going on around you. Stay aware. Be informed. Take action. Take action and help yourself, and just take baby steps. We're all in a system that is really dark, which has pressed itself upon us, and we have adopted a lot of bad thoughts into ourselves. And the blessing of that, the blessing of the darkness and the really crap things that we've done and the crap things that we've allowed, is that recovering bad people are existing bad people's worst enemy. And what I mean is that if someone is a bad person and they're healing and they're working on themselves, and they express like remorse and frustration at themselves for what their past experience has been, then going into the future, they can change that, and they can actually it's like, they say it takes one to know one, right? Well, if you're a jerk and you make bad decisions and you export all your responsibility to the government all the time, your whole life, well, guess what? When you stop doing that and you see other people doing it, you're going to start speaking up and you're going to start to make a difference. And that is a good thing. It's a force for good. And so anyways, more good news is that, this is really good news too, is that right now we are in a period of change and the system is being dismantled from the top down. So this is an extremely volatile and vulnerable place for our country and for tyranny. So it's a double-edged sword. So the system is being dismantled from the top down. We already know that. All of the center of this thing is being gutted, and it will be getting replaced with autonomous robots, AI, AI agents. You're going to go to the DMV and, it'll be VR or something, right? You're going to have a virtual reality DMV, virtual reality welfare office, all that stuff where you can just go in or whatever it is. The technology is being released, and they are, they're releasing this technology. We have to remember too, like, what do they have behind the scenes? They have quantum AI. They have stuff behind the scenes. They're releasing this stuff to us because they're not concerned over it getting out of control. And even if they are concerned, it's a risk that they have to take because, people will things will get out of control really a lot faster if they don't release certain stuff. There's a lot of heat being put on them. At the same time, this is the perfect time for change and for humanity and Americans to imagine the possibilities for freedom and take advantage of it. And start imagining what this will look like with automation and with, there will be cures for things. The system has shitty cures because it doesn't really know. It's not connected to the natural world. It's an artificial thing. And, we can get into that a little more later. But we have to start envisioning what the golden age would look like. And what it kind of will look like is that tyranny and freedom will both increase. We're going to be seeing the ultimate contradiction as things speed up. It's going to be like, chaos and order at the same time. It's going to be so confusing. You're going to have so many people just losing it. People are going to be losing it, and it's going to be scary. And, time is speeding up because events are speeding up with it. And we're going to have ultimate freedom with just some huge atrocities, right? And expect that. So how can we help usher in a true golden age? Learn what your rights are. Learn where they come from. Learn natural law. Be courageous. And everyone taking action technologically, we should all be using our voice. We should all be speaking our mind and supporting each other. We should all be helping each other out. Speaking of supporting each other, anyone who has appreciated this show so far, if you've listened to this much, I'm sure that means that you found something worthwhile to listen to. So please consider donating to me because, as I said in the beginning, I have sacrificed a lot. A lot involving my normal life, having a normal life, and just being something else, and not just being the person who is here to try to be vulnerable and explain everything to everyone and do my best and try to do what I can. It's taken a lot out of my life, so please consider supporting me and making a donation. And if you're not in the position to do that, just share it. Leave a comment, share it, send it to your buddies, something to listen to. So yeah, please consider that. That would really help me out. call out bullshit laws and tyranny. That's a huge way. I mean, learn where your rights come from, and you'll understand that the system is totally on upside down. We live in upside down world. The founding fathers, they made a huge step in removing government from their lives, and it's our time to do the same and to raise our voice and let everyone know in these administrations and these politicians, really let them know, because their solutions, they're not going to be what they're dragging an old consciousness and a bad consciousness into modern practice. And we're all taking it at face value because, we're all stagnated. We're all kind of, stuck in this system, but imagining new things and really people, learning natural law, learning what the founding fathers were talking about with nature's God. You don't have to be religious for that either. It's not religious. And stop tolerating tyrants anywhere. So this has been the very first episode of the Holy Warship podcast. Like I said, we're going to be switching it back and forth, with the platforms. It's going to change a little bit. I'm really looking forward to Friday, because if you like this episode and you have questions or comments and want to join me on a live stream and just ask questions and watch along, we're going to be going over this, maybe for even, a couple hours and just hanging out and, talking about this stuff. And I'm really looking forward to it. So what I really want to leave people with is as a final thought is that, you will be remembered. Like you really have to start thinking about this, because you're going to be remembered with a digital footprint. Every text, every search, every like, every post, anything I'm not even a paranoid person. I've had times to be paranoid. I really try to be reasonable, but everything is being watched and listened to. And how much of that do you think is being recorded, like without your knowing? I'm guessing a lot of it. And your life, even if it's just your social security number and a couple purchases on Amazon, then you're going to be remembered. And when your grandchildren or ancestors or the future mankind is looking back on you, like, how do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered? If you have children, do you want your grandchildren or great-grandchildren to, like, what do you want them to think about your life? Like, we're all imperfect. Like, they're going to really understand how imperfect humanity was, if all of our grandchildren are still here, right? But they're all going to understand how just crazy humanity has been, because they're going to have access to so much information. Hopefully they do have access to this. And hopefully, what do you think? You think they're going to have access to it? Anyway, we're all going to... Men used to have the courtesy of just being left in the past, right? Like, if you were just a total fuck-up, like, think of how many fuck-ups just were forgotten about, and, like, maybe they got to deal with eternal damnation or whatever from the divine or whatever. But, like... at least they weren't written about, and sadly, we all of our mistakes are gonna be like all on the computer. And what do you want to be remembered as or like? So you're gonna be remembered in the Book of Life, and if you don't believe in that, you will be remembered by the technological Book of Life. And yeah, what do you want? What do you want your grandchildren to look back and think of you as? Just like, oh. Whatever you are, and we don't all have to be, we don't have to be great people. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be fucking, just insane, awesome, great people. But just really raising your voice and speaking out for the truth, it goes a long way, and that's what really makes a big difference in the long run. So thank you everyone for listening. I really, really appreciate anyone who has stuck around, and enjoy listening. I will talk to some of you on Friday during the live stream, and we're going to just hang out and have some fun and get into some of this stuff, in a just a more chill fashion. This is pretty chill, but, the live streams are going to be pretty fun, which I'm looking forward to. So take care, everybody, and see you next time.